Workbench number one. This piece of lumber here is what I'm going to make my workbench out of. It's 6 inches by 15 inches. Southern yellow pine. I'm going to cut it in it's 10 foot long. I'm going to cut it in half and make a 5-foot workbench with a heavy top. And the first thing I got to do, well, the first thing I had to do was get it in the house here to kind of cure out and dry out a little bit. Now I'm going to have to cut that joker in the middle there with a handsaw because I can't bring a skill saw in here, and I don't want to move the whole thing again. So I'm going to cut it in half and move half of it at the time. Back with number 2 later. Yep. This is the cutting of the 10-foot board with a handsaw. All cut. That's it. Oh boy. That's a good one. That's table saw take 2. There's my monster. It's in the corn crib. It's a long time getting it back here. But it's here, and that's going to be the workbench. I'm going to start it next. That 4x6 there will be, that's one of the 2 of the legs. So now I've got to get started on building this doodad. Well, I'm cutting the legs now. I've got 2 cut. This is the last 2. Cut them with a handsaw. Been working on starting the saw for a while. I think about cut it down. So we've cut good. Kind of neat cutting with a handsaw. Anybody that cut with a cross gets Pac-Man and power saw. Power saw leaves a good, neat, straight cut. You can't always depend on that steel saw. Tell when it gets almost to the end there. Good straight cut there. Smooth. Good smooth. We're getting there. This is number 4. Well, we've got the first leg laid out here, and I'm gonna recess the leg down into my bench. So this is the front face. This rolled over, so this would be the front leg. But this is called a mortise and tendon. This is a mortise that you'd cut out. The tendon is the part of the leg. I don't know if you can see it. I got the leg sitting here. The leg will be cut out there. This part will be cut out so as when it sets up there, the leg will be flush with the front. I want the leg flush with the front, but I don't want the leg to show. So I'm leaving that in, cutting this out to let it slide down in there. And now I've got the task of cutting this out with the chisel. That just flakes right out there. Come back down here and go a little deeper on the side. Keep your chisel plumb. Carolyn, your daddy would want to come up here and help me. Now I'm going to cut it out about 4 inches deep. And this piece of timber is still wet. It's not dry yet. So it's still wet. And my legs are dry. So when I put my legs in here, when lumber dries, it shrinks. So when I put my legs in here and this dries, it's going to shrink onto my leg. And so that's what I got to do now. And this is number 5. All of those chips there come out that one little hole. Well, and it's just hard to believe all that wood come out of that one hole. Well, I got both my legs in, and that's a good thing. Now I've just got to decide what I'm going to do next. So that's where we are now. This is 7, I believe. They shouldn't nobody have this much fun doing stuff like this. This is such a pleasure. I've done cut. This is the part that goes up flush. This goes flush with this. This is A. and the front section is going to be A. Okay, so they're going to match up. And I laid it out. It's 1 inch, and this is how deep my hole is. And I take my Japanese saw and cut this section right here, rather than cut it with a chisel. Japanese saw cuts when you pull it to you. It cuts when you pull it to you. When you push you away from it, it don't. It's the opposite from a handsaw. So, you got a lesson in Japanese handsaws. Okay. Now I'm going to cut this out. I got to get on with it. Man, there's some heart pine in here. That heart pine, we called it laddered when I was coming up. Laddered is what you start a fire with. Oh man, look at that. Ah, that smells so good. Start a fire in a heartbeat with that. And there was some rosin in that little cavity there, rosin. And you can take rosin, start a fire with it. It burns good when you're out in the wilderness. You can, if you got wounded or something, it's good for sealing a wound. Heat it up, melt it, and then let it cool a little bit and put it over the wound. And I even used to try to chew it when I was a kid, but I'm not a kid anymore, so I'm not going to chew that. Okay, here we go. Cutting on this line down here. The grain of this wood is coming up, and that's good, or I couldn't be doing this. Have to be careful when you're doing it, because if the grain of the wood goes down, you'll be cutting out too much. And now it's on the slope up. I like working with hand tools. Yeah, I could have done this with a router. And it would take about a heartbeat to do it with a router, and it would be perfect. But since the object of this is, the purpose of this is doing it to have fun, this is more fun than doing it with an electric router. You know what I mean? Raise that chisel up and it cuts deeper. Raise it up, it'll go down. Lower it, it'll go the other way. Speaking of routers, this is a poor man's router here. Let me get rid of some of this junk. Too much junk. save these chips. So you can see I cut it with the chisel. But somebody's gonna say, ah, no, you didn't cut that out with no chisel. But I did. I did. Okay. This blade is 1 inch. See, that's 1 inch. This is supposed to be 1 inch. So that needs to go down some more. Quite a bit more. Close. But what I wanted to show you is this chisel. Drove through that wood there and drove down to approximately the depth there. How it's going to work on that hardwood there. May not work. Ain't working so good. Now I got to go back to the drawing board on that. Okay. Start to say y'all talk to one another, but you can't, can you? I want to just check it, see how close I am. And the way you do that is turn it over and put it on the outside here, like that. And when it's even here, it's back enough. So this side needs about a 16th, and this side needs about an 8th. Okay. Will it on it some more. But that is going to go in that hole there. I know it won't fit the first time. Oh my goodness, it's so close. But that's the way it's going to go, down in there. So I just need to work on it a little more. This is number 6, I believe. Now I'm gluing up some boards. This is the supports that goes underneath the benches. Underneath the bench, not benches. So I've put 3 together, and that'll be my cross braces. Cross support from leg to leg, front to back. And they'll be dry in the morning. Just moving right along with it. This is the bottom supports that are cut out of the ones that I glued together. And everything is fitting pretty good. I've got the shelf support and the leg lateral braces on. I double dovetailed them in there. I don't have any nails or glue in this thing, and I'm not going to put any in it. It's just put together with mortise and tendons, and that dovetailed there. So hopefully that worked. Now my next chore is get my vise in, and then I'll flip this thing over and see what it looks like. Well, I'm just about ready to flip it over and see how it looks. I've no glue, no nails, just mortise and tendons. Everything, no nail, nothing. Everything's together. I'm gonna dog it down with some clamps, turning it over just for safety's sakes, but I think it would hold together without it. But see, those pieces there come through, the tendon comes through the legs on both ends, both ways. So, we'll see how it looks when it turns it over. I gotta get my vise in there first, though. This is my Vineyard vise, bench vise that I'm putting on there. The Colombian Vice and Manufacturing Company, Cleveland, Ohio, USA. Boy, that's a heavy sucker. Got it at a yard sale. And it's a quick vise. Set the camera down. It's a quick vise, open like so. It's gonna be a neat addition to it, to my bench. Well, here goes nothing. I've got probably 600 pounds here, and I'm really scared of it, but I'm going to try to flip it over. I'm concerned about the sawhorses collapsing when I turn it up on that one side. The sawhorses are not ready to carry this, I don't think. There goes nothing. if you had 1,000,000 pounds, if you balanced it, it wouldn't weigh anything. And that's what we're trying to do here. Keep it balanced. Slip forward. Sawdust really helps. Yeah. That's what I was scared of. But I don't think we heard anything. Just like get bored off. Get out of there. Don't try this at home. See, it wasn't nailed together or anything, it's just stuck together. Nothing can just lean that up. It'll still be okay. I'll pay for this tomorrow. Thank you, Lord. I'm gonna sit down a while. That's the, well, there she is. Now I got a little more work to do on it, but it's setting up right. I'm so proud of it. Okay, catch you later. You know, all good things must come to an end, I guess. And finally, I'm at an end on my work table. 100% complete. Storage space below. Created a lot of storage space. Cleaned up a lot of shelves in the shop. Got more storage space down in there. I don't know what to do with. But I'm so proud of it. I keep saying that, but I am. So I'm celebrating with a hot cup of coffee. And this is a store well. Where you can keep stuff in there. Stuff that I use. Down there out of the way. Yeah, so I just think that's plumb ingenious. So proud of it. My bass and my dogs. Hold another dog. That puts your board in there, and then you can plane the board, you know, whatever you want to. Solid as a rock. You cannot move it. I weigh 250 pounds solid muscle. Yeah, and I can't wiggle it at all. It just don't move. It's like it's nailed to the floor.